Welcome everyone back to Poppy and Oz. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, hit that like button, hit that subscribe. If you found yourself coming across the channel, give it a chance and see if you enjoy it. We've got loads of views. We've had loads of new subs, so welcome to you. It's great to just chat draft, and we're going to be doing this throughout next year as well. So the plan next year, freed up a bit of time, we're going to cover the draft from day one. We're going to really try and get down there, give you some footage from the games. But also, we're going to try and really focus data heavy on all the sides. So previews every week for the AFL. Really get into it because I really enjoy the conversation with you all as well as your quality Carlton content as well. So it's going to be a real one-stop shop. So please come and join us. We love having you here. And today what we're going to talk about is the real interesting one. I'm right in the middle of my mock draft, which has been really well received. Thank you very much for the good comments there. And a lot of conjecture about Pick 2. So we did a video about this, about Richmond buying Pick 2. We did a video about keeping Pick 2 with the wonderful Marnie at Kanga TV. I wanted to just give three options of why I think, and I came to the synopsis, that Alex Tyree won't be Pick 2. So let's get into it. So option number one is take Alex Tyree. So why would North Melbourne take Alex Tyree? Well, it's obvious that a key defender is heavily on the radar, and it makes total sense when you actually come to think about it, because it is probably, they have focused on, quite rightly, as people were saying, midfield in their last couple of drafts. They've kind of got that. But let's have a look at Alex as a footballer. And for me, you've got to remember, I'm always one of these people that is wary of risers towards the end of the draft. Why is that? Well, is it just they've hit the equilibrium? Is it obviously tired legs? He's got a bit of endurance. But let's look at Alex as a footballer. Phenomenal footballer, 193, a massive intercepting beast, incredible vertical leap, really strong in the air. And you can definitely see the scope here long-term, right? Long-term to be an absolute superstar of the game. He definitely suits in that category of someone that you come through the draft and you go, okay, you're a sort. 12 games in the Codes League for Gippsland, 14.5 touches, 7 intercept marks, 6 marks, 4 score involvements, 0.6 goals a game. You can also swing forward, which people are forgetting is one of the big PODs from Alex. And in the National Championships was fairly solid. 3 games, 7 touches, 4 intercepts, 2 intercept marks. Now, he wasn't as spectacular in the National Championships, that's got to be said. At Peak 2, as good as he is, when there'll be players like one of Sam Layla, Jagger Smith, Finn O'Sullivan, Sid Draper, Harvey Langford on the board, for me, I just think it's criminal. Now, that's okay, because draft skill rankings versus draft need rankings are totally different. If you're really thirsty, a steak isn't as appealing after 7 months in the desert not drinking, right? So I understand that logic, but I always work with the 5-pick rule. I just think it's way too early for North, and I'll tell you for why. I think if you look at the options around there, let's just say that we'll just say 2, that the ones that everyone's got in their first 3, Finn O'Sullivan, Jagger Smith, Sam Layla. I think you can make a better argument for me when you're looking at North to build the cake before you add the icing, right? I think Jagger Smith, an incredible accumulator, which then when I look at North's list with the additional list spots, remember, they have 2 additional list spots this year they can use on the Rookie A. It's a lot easier to find a state hold-up key defender than it is a point of difference midfielder, right? So you look at Tom Stewart, who came through late after playing state football. You can find them. You can find the diamonds in the rough more in the key position because they're later developers than you can an on-baller. You look at someone like Sean Manor, who spent a lot of time in the midfield for Werribee when he came in, slotted across half forward. He wasn't the premium on-baller, but he was exceptional at that mid-forward rotation at Werribee in the State League. So I look at Alex Tyree and go, yes, he is a need, but Jagger Smith, the accumulator, that's going to give, even though he's not penetrating, every club has a great accumulator. Is he ready day one? I don't think he is. I think for him to reach them levels, it's still a year, 2 years, but it will be an incredible high ceiling, and you can find elsewhere. North haven't been shy of playing these guys off halfback and then rotating them up. They've got some great players, Kobe McElhinney, they've got Harry Sheasel. These guys are X-Factor players, but when I look at it, I just think POD, for me, is something that could really change the game. Big one is Finn O'Sullivan. I think if you look at Finn O'Sullivan, this really does excite me for North Melbourne. Harry Sheasel, I think, could be anything. And I think just to pigeonhole him as a half-forward who's going to kick goals and pinch in the midfield is a detriment to how good Sheasel is. I look at LDU, I think you can buy the support from him, and that's been proven by teams like Carlton. You can buy that kind of support network, and that's probably an easier support network to find in your state leagues, your big bullish guy who's going to help. Look at Georgie Hewitt would be a great example for North. Finn O'Sullivan is X-Factor, and they have definitely then building a midfield. I do believe you've got to build the cake before you add the icing and the candles. And the other guy we haven't talked about is Sam Layla, definitely something North Melbourne haven't got. He is X-Factor in every sense of the word. It can really change the game at an instant. And when you look at how Clarkson has set up his teams in the past, they definitely have that big POD in the midfield. And I feel like there's a lot of work relied on a couple of players at North. So I do feel like there is still a spot for the midfield. Why wouldn't they take a key forward at pick 2, though? Look at Hawthorn last year. I remember doing these segments and Hawthorn fans were saying, we've got to get a key defender in, we've got to get a key defender in. Sam Frost ain't it, Sam Frost ain't it. You look at next year and you look at the players out of contract, and if you guys can show something, and remember, I think to show something to the AFL world, you've just not got to finish bottom. If you can finish in that top 14, which I do think is in the realms of feasibility, I look at North, they're going to have a very healthy fixture list. They've got to go out there and do something really daft, I think, to not do it. But I look, and next year, I could see North coming with the motherload for a key defender. I really do. I also look at ahead to the draft next year, and a lot of them finicky midfield players are in the NGA father-son. So an option next year for North Melbourne with 2 futures, they can play Russian roulette, in my opinion, with them. When they've got 2 futures, teams are still going to maybe underrate North Melbourne. They can trade back in and look at a key defender then, or they can look on the free agency. And when you look at some of the players, then they're not exciting players per se, but you could draft best available junior and bring in someone like Ella Verdi, someone like no one's talking about, but Lee Kalia has expressed he's going to stay. Is he going to break into the team? I don't think he is. Is that an option that North have in the back of their head? We can maybe get a ready-made one next year if we can just stopgap this for this year, put the time into where the game is in the one, midfield and forward, and we'll be hunky-dory. Now, option number 2, and that leads me on, is using a future to trade back in, and who could they target? When I look at this draft this year, I, in my opinion, think Tyru catches the eye. Luke Traynor is the anomaly in this one, right? And I look at players and where they're going to be picked and think, I don't think there is a huge amount separating him. Now, one of the big misconceptions is the concussion rule. And I do want people to talk about, with the concussion rule, a lot of people have talked about it, but the junior rules are mandated for 21 days. So I've seen a lot of rumours going around. 2 concussions, he missed like 2 months with it. 21 days is just short of a month. It's not like AFL where it's a short period of time. Now, this is a mandated thing to keep our youth healthy. He himself has said he's raring to go. I believe he is as well. I think Luke Traynor is a real slept-on talent. And then I look at where he may slide to. And I think he'll slide to the late teens, early 20s. And there is a team here that I look at and think, looking at list spots available, looking at the picks they've got, looking at the NGA talent they've got, and looking at their draft needs, do they need them? And the Isaac Cumming and the Harry Perriman pick, which will be around draft night 19 to 25 with the matches, I look at this and go, okay, they've currently got 15, 16, 21. They'll go up, like we've just said, to them provisional ranges. That is around where Luke Traynor is. Now, what do GWS need? Now, I look at what GWS need, and I think that they're going to go safe. They're going to take, your mid-forwards, your small forwards. They've got a really good team, and they've got a really solid squad list. It's nice age profile. It's not screaming for a lot. They've got players like Darcy Jones who are coming through, and that's how GWS like to build their talent, play them through. I think they'll take Taj Houghton with one of their picks. It really suits what they're wanting. A player of that ilk, in my opinion. But I think they would be open to the conversation with one of them picks of banking points for next year. Now, that is a conversation for North. Do North look at that and go, okay, if Luke Traynor's there, do we do it? Then looking a bit further afield, also their second pick, 21, it'll blow out to about 25, 26. Is that an area that they look at and look at the next best available? Is that a Noah Mraz, a James Barrett, player like that? This is where North can get a bit creative because suddenly that future second is almost the value of a future first. So it's not a massive amount to pay. And if you are a club that rates North Melbourne as the bottom two sides, got to remember that a future second is pick 20. You're going into next year's draft. It's an option there for North Melbourne to look at. And I think that this is a more logical thing for North Melbourne to do. Take the best available mid. Get that POD in. Get that excitement into your team. And then trade up. Trade up into it if you need to. And I think GWS are one of them teams that I'm looking at this year and going, okay, they've got 3 picks where they're really in the same catchment of the same players. They don't need key defenders. You could make an argument they could take a key forward, but Cadman's still young. Hogan's still got a lot of football to play. You've got Logan Smith coming through, who's a ruck forward. They always seem to cultivate these forwards as well. Cadman's definitely going to be the future Jesse Hogan. They've got time on their side. Are 3 picks in the same catchment worthy of what GWS are trying to build? When you look at GWS's list and GWS scheduled, if they took 4 picks in this draft, which would be 15, 16, 37 and 56 being matched for Logan Smith, that's 36 hit. They've hit their catchment. They're going to have 5 on the rookie A, so they've still got a rookie spot that's 43, and then they can take someone like one of their NGAs and list him as a category B. One of them is eligible, so they suddenly have a full list spot. So you could argue that when the Logan Smith bid comes in, there is players like Cooper Bell as well that they can rookie. They are set and are only going to take 2 of them 3 picks. So it could be a really interesting one. So North fans, let me know what you're thinking. I think this is a really good deal for GWS and North. They get to go into next year as well. They get to spread their picks a little bit and North can trade up for best available. So let me know in the comments. Would you like a Luke Traynor and a Finn O'Sullivan per se? Or would you just like to take Alex Tyree at 2 and then have no picks after that? I think for me, if I'm looking at which way is it better, it's better to find an X-Factor midfielder early and then find a key defender that you want to do. And I think Luke Traynor really has the facets of a real exciting footballer. Or if you don't want to give up too much, you could trade down and maybe take that 37 where you're in the catchment of Noah Mraz, when you're in the catchment of James Barrett, when you're in the catchment of Harry O'Farrell. So it's a real interesting one. Let's have a conversation about it. Peace, love and light. Pom out.
Rolling up over black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad.